And welcome back once again to the PCS Summer. We got 2 more games to go before we close out day 2 of the final week of the regular split. But before we do that, well, Clement, you know what time it is? It's time to shout out our sponsor, CTBC Bank, for always being by our side. One more split, and it is good to have them once again. But Clement, speaking of once again, we've got a team hitting the rift for the second time today. It's PSG Talon, hoping to rally off of their loss earlier to J-Team. Of course, facing them down this time, it's going to be Impunity, who have had some struggles of their own.
Yeah, and I think there was such a good template provided by J-Team in how to counter PSG. You try to play them aggressive early, and you ban away their playmaker on Gory. If he doesn't get his Azir, he doesn't get his Sylas, he's not the same type of player. Impunity is going to come up, and there's that familiar face, Onyx, coming up in the AD carry.
Yep, you want to talk about things that are synonymous? It is Impunity and changing rosters, but they do seem to have settled on at least a core 4 for the time being. Jackpot, Alex, Husky, and Yusin joining Onyx now on the Rift. And it is curious because this is a team that doesn't really have too much to play for in terms of playoff positioning. They're locked in more or less to their spot. In theory, they could move up one more into... Well, no, excuse me, they could drop down into like 8th,
Yeah.
but like, I'm curious what this means. If Onyx is in right now for what is presumably some practice, maybe he's going to be the guy come playoffs.
So Onyx has typically been playing champions that don't have gap closers. He likes to play things like Jinx is definitely a big one for him. I would see Zarya as being in his wheelhouse as well. The general gist is that he is the hyper carry type of guy. Play through. So I think this shifts Impunity and gives them a little bit more flexibility. When they were playing LZ, it was almost always slanted towards the top side in terms of their draft. Now with Onyx, they can maybe play for bot.
Yeah, and I think right now for PSG, they're looking to try and recover themselves as they basically got themselves jebaited into a little V pentakill. And positioning has been a little bit scuffed in that fight. I think when they were off some of the comfort picks, Gory definitely seemed exploitable, which is a rare thing for us to say. So I'm going to be curious to see what happens here, but we're going to be comparing our bottom laners head-to-head. Onyx, rare, someone who's more of a veteran than Unified, and I feel like they've kind of passed like ships in the night in their careers. I think Onyx might have retired before Unified came in, or at least past his prime.
Yeah, the most important thing about Onyx's career definitely was the Season 5 run, and Unified didn't start playing until 2016, so definitely a generational gap that you're coming up here. I think Unified has carried the mantle, and let's be honest, been far more consistent in just continuing to play at the top of the AD carry position, while Onyx has been sort of on and off at times. Onyx, of course, started playing in Season 3 as a jungler, and then moved into AD carry position later on.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see if he's able to step it up here today. I do think it does give a boost to Impunity's team fighting, something that's sorely needed. As we are into picks and bans, we see the Azir banned away, the Poppy as well. So clearly this team has been taking notes with the Sylas ban by PSG as well.
And that's because Husky is playing almost only melee champions, so good find on that part. And it does mean Gory finds himself in the same position as he did earlier today. If he goes on to Galio again, like, he played it fairly well, but the team needs, I think, is used to getting so much more out of him that they've been pretty timid. I feel like Kanavi and Kylie had, you know, they've just had less to do when Gory is on the team, and over time, I feel like the atrophy is sitting in.
Yeah, I think this team needs to find a little more depth to the identity, and it's one of the struggles that we've always talked about with PSG when they were just constantly winning, which is a weird sentence to say, I admit, but they had struggles when they were when a team found a strategy that worked against them because they hadn't been challenged before. So we'll see if they can find something different here for Gory. The Yuumi does get left open, and it's immediately locked for Yusin, the early support pickup, and now we'll see what PSG answer with. They're hovering on the Sivir for Unified right now.
There's a lot of easy picks to go to. A Sivir, Gnar, both up here. The Aurelia ban is, I think it's pretty telegraphed to go for the Gnar here. We did have the first loss on Hanabi Gnar the entire split. It looks like they're going to save that one for later and just go with the more tempo-based one. So I like this. Gory saying that, you know what, I still need to be able to engage by myself.
Yeah, I like the Ari pickup. It is potentially a liability that he has to pick it right now, but he does get his hands on it. They leave the Zeri open, though, so Zeri Yumi, very strong bot lane for Onyx and Yushin coming in, and they will also pick up the Galio for Husky, so this gives them some roam potential to try and set up plays.
Oh, this is a little bit hard for PSG to draft into because they currently have a very short-range composition, snowball-oriented. I feel like we're going to get the most tempo-based game we've ever seen coming out of PSG right here. They can't really run into Infinity's composition given the Yumi and the Galio, so they're going to have to play with precision and speed, not something that they usually do.
You have to dig deep. You have to flex. Remember, right now, PSG are in a rare position. They're not in first place. They've been leapfrogged by Deep Cross with that win earlier today, and of course, J-Team going to be hot at the heels now that they got that win over them. PSG, they could potentially drop out of the top two. They could drop out of getting that bye. I don't think we've really hardly ever seen that since their debut in the PCS now as we enter ban phase 2. Viego, GP removed. Impunity can definitely target out Hanabi's champion pool.
Really surprised about the Viego because that's typically a good option with the composition that PSG is trying to run. They probably want to diversify from having too many short-range carries. I want to see Lee Sin actually from Bury. I feel like Bury's Lee Sin, excuse me, was exquisite the last time he played it. Very good on the mechanics, and they actually banned it themselves. This is so weird because PSG actually
this is the second game in a row they banned stuff that's good for them. It's very bizarre for sure. I mean, Xin Zhao is up, and it has been Bury's most played champion by a mile.
Yes,
but that's also banned now, and I think Impunity know. Like, all right, well, Bury, what else you got in the tank? It's Trundle. I did like the buy.
I don't like Trundle with this comp. I feel like it's too slow in trying to make things happen. Sure, it's decent in ganking the Galio, but definitely not my cup of tea. I would much rather just snag the Gnar here. Yes, they did lose earlier with it today, but I still think the champion's so powerful.
Oh boy. Oh boy. It's the Trundle. I think there may be some cracks starting to show. And Impunity, well, they grab the buy for themselves. That does give them a fair amount of bruisery potential.
Yeah, to be fair, there aren't that many options left on the table. You know, you could go a little bit further, maybe for the Polybear, but that one's been nerfed a bit as well.
Jackpot Jax.
This is going to be a treat. I actually feel like Impunity have already outdrafted PSG.
Yeah.
The carries are there. The mid-game engage potential is there. The counter engage potential is there as well. It's a very well-rounded composition. Honestly, it outranges, it outside lanes what PSG could throw at them. And PSG are kind of forced into a tempo game plan with Trundle as a jungler. They have to get engaged.
I kind of feel like PSG are just giving themselves a hard homework assignment, right? I mean, maybe they don't care about the seeding. Maybe they're just trying to see if they can play at a bit of a disadvantage. I mean, maybe that's like the Galaxy brain take. But
I like that they're going for
Sejuani. Got drafted.
At least the Sejuani over the Gnar, which is what I thought they should have done earlier today, gives them options to play with. This gives them a much stronger and non-situational engage when it comes to those early objective fights. So I applaud the Sejuani pick here. I think Sejuani is typically far more impactful than the Jax in the first 20 minutes of the game for sure.
Yeah, well, PSG are going to try and win it fast as well. Maybe they got a little excited when they saw Beyond Gaming doing an 18 and a half minute win over Sem9 just earlier. I will say PSG have definitely been in high swing in one aspect. Their social media game is absolutely on point. If you are not already, you absolutely need to follow the Twitter because no one memes PSG like PSG. Just going to say that. Shout out to the social media manager.
You know, they've been doing a great job. They actually listen to our cast as well and adapt to the memes. So I love this.
The meme game is very strong. Like, definitely no notes there. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. For PSG, drafting, maybe a few notes. I think Coach Clement will have a full stack of things to say after this. But we'll see how the game shakes out. If PSG can get a win here, then maybe they will silence some of the doubts.
I don't understand the Lee Sin Viego self-bans. That's just a head scratcher to me. When you're running this type of composition, you're trying to go lean and fast. Banning the two probably best left snowball junglers on the board is definitely a question mark for me to play Trundle. So we'll see how this works out. I think it's going to be very hard. for PSG to actually snowball into an early game, and they're going to once again have to rely on teamfight setup.
30 seconds until
Well,
minions spawn.
we will see how this one goes. Hitting the Rift to kick things off. PSG for the second time today, trying to recapture that top spot. They've lost out on due to the loss against J-Team and Deep Cross winning. We'll take a look at our choices here of the Keystone Mastery spellbook for the Ahri. That Predator Galio for Husky. Ooh, that's a bit of a spring throwback.
Yeah, we have seen a couple of these from Nesty as well. You get to roam very early on, level 3, level 4, to impact the lanes, and that's going to be very dangerous to Hanabi. Early on, you see he's not running with the flash, but interestingly enough, Husky also isn't bringing the minion dematerializer, which is kind of the typical one you bring when you're running Predator. So it's going to be a little bit harder for him to get those level 3, level 4 roams off for sure. It could still happen, but it would be much costlier.
Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on this mid lane, see what works out. Obviously, Gory, of course, going for this Ahri here because the Azir, the Sylas, the denial, it's just been strong. Obviously, the self-ban on the Sylas was one thing. But Gory, a player that made such a huge splash, I feel like we're starting to see a handful of weaknesses that this star player has, and some of them are in the champion choices. He doesn't get one of these preferred champions, he looks a little bit different.
The funny thing is that he's not just a star, he's a sun, and that's the problem, because you can't see any other planets when it's daytime. That's been the problem for PSG. Gory has been
blew
so
my
good.
mind there.
Huh?
That's like proverb level, like take, man. That was impressive.
Oh, thanks. I do consider myself a bit of a philosopher. League of Legends philosopher, I would say.
What's your philosophy on this bot lane engage? Because Onyx gets got real fast by Kaiwing. Great dredge line.
That's typical Onyx. Like, I don't see the point standing in the position he was standing when you know that the level 2 is coming. Like, that was just that's kind of just Onyx. That's the way he plays.
And you've got a support also that's going to do the exact opposite of body blocking for you. It's a Yuumi.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bury coming in. Actually, because of the priority, they actually can go for an invade here. This could be trouble for Alex.
Well, let's see. I think he should be in the bottom brush, and he's just going to skip over his own red buff. That's definitely going to hurt.
I think he saw that.
Yeah. As the Vi, you always want to rush level 6, but without a red buff, that means it's going to be very hard for any of these ganks. I feel like PSG, most of their laners can play pretty aggressive after this one. You know, Vi without red buff, not much of a gank threat.
The case, ooh, Charm, point blank, lands right to Husky, and Gory getting a nice outplay there, and oh man, Husky's taken low. Already forced under tower. Yeah, Gory, you can see why the priority on the Ahri was pretty high. He definitely starts to deliver, and he has the minion demat himself, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think we could be seeing some Ahri roams.
Very difficult for Husky to lead this lane, actually. And I do think that Husky, you know, made the right decision in going for the resolve tree. Alex,
they do find a nice Vault Breaker combo into the taunt. The Winds of War, and oh, that's gonna be enough.
But
Oh
Bury can
wow,
finish
I
off
like
both
that. Yeah, Impunity. Here we go. Bury going forward for the Chomp does find it. Husky did not have any more mana to follow through, so Bury might get some revenge for his mid laner. Instead, he just gets the one. But honestly, a good turn for Impunity in this mid lane.
Absolutely great find here coming in for Husky, because he was the one that was being pushed behind in lane. They get the first blood, they get the mid lane kill, which is obviously more important here. So Impunity with a decent start here in this game, and you know, this is why I don't really like the Trundle Ahri setup. Usually when you have an Ahri, you really want something that can hit the opponent first, get the burst damage through. Trundle kind of has to walk towards his targets.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you know, this Vi, the Vault Breaker, I think it's overlooked when the Cease and Desist is kind of the new hotness, and you don't need level 6 to gank. It's risky, but it was a perfect setup. I think Husky did a great job baiting it out, and it would have been nice had they been able to finish off Bury, but they dumped all their mana into getting the Ahri down, and, well, Husky got himself a brand new pair of boots for his trouble.
And boots too as well, so we'll allow him to get over the charm damage follow-up quite easily here. I'm taking a look across the map. Alex still very far away. Oh yeah. Alex still very far away from level 6, so I think we're in for kind of a quiet couple of minutes. And then I expect Alex to just go straight for the bot lane. Bot lane probably easiest to kill right here. They have an extra exhaust coming into that lane. And you could also have Husky follow up, which is very difficult to interrupt for Gory. So that's where I'm expecting the next plays.
That's true. They have the Wombo combo and potential solid 4-1 as well. I mean, keep in mind, first 20 minutes, yeah, you'd rather be Sejuani, but Jackpot is going to become Jack status after a little while, and I do think that the late game scaling, I mean, look at that. The Zeri, the Jax, you have a pretty solid team fight as well with the Yuumi combo, and I think PSG are going to have to really get the ball rolling fast.
Yeah, I feel like the problem for PSG's composition is once Unified goes down, they don't have a lot of damage to fight back. And Impunity's team comp is geared towards just killing the backline. It's almost impossible for Unified to survive in most of these fights. Just being completely honest here, Alex just flies in. Sure, you can spell shield it, but you know, Alex is still going to be on top of you, and that means Galio too. So the question here for PSG in most team fights is how do they actually keep Unified alive? If he goes down, then they don't have sustained damage.
Yeah, that's the trouble right now. They continue to trade love taps back and forth. Buri will try and start off on this Hextech Dragon. Going to bring Buri down to assist with it, and Kaiwing as well with the wraparound, Unified too. It's a good timing window, and they're not really going to give up much for it, except maybe a little bit of lane pressure. But it still is a little bit of a question mark that this Trundle was the choice for Buri, because it just doesn't feel all that optimal in this team composition. I do wonder if there's maybe some champ pool issues there as well.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen Buri play much Viego or be all that successful on the champion. Maybe that's the one issue there. I will say though, his Lee Sin actually looked great. I really want to see more Buri Lee Sin.
It is night and day when you compare those two champions, right? Like it is worrying though when you're not able to pull out a go. But Lee Sin, yeah, would love to see more of that from Buri. Would love to see a more active hand by this player who has had a bit of a sleepier debut. Mostly because it's not even meant to be a knock, because a lot of times his lanes are winning. But now that they're not, we need him to do a little more heavy lifting.
Yeah, for sure here. And I wonder what the game plan is for PSG. I just don't really see how they take team fights. They can run at people really fast, but it's actually hard for them to ensure a lockdown without the help of Hanabi. And maybe this is it, as we see a 4-man convergence here coming in from PSG, as everyone is getting around the Herald. This should be a fight where PSG is slightly favored just because of that Sejuani early on being very, very powerful.
Is she going to wait for everybody to catch up Unified a little bit later to the party? But that Herald, I think, might already be gone. Impunity had the inside track, and
does that flash?
Hobby? They can maybe deny this Herald take. However, they do get to catch him to Husky. That's going to be the ultimate onto Gory, but Alex dies immediately. They try to go for the combo. Husky goes in, Husky goes out. Jackpot going to lose his life in this one. PSG does much better coordination as they pick apart Impunity. The Charm lands, Onyx going down. We're going to get ourselves an ace here at 9 minutes.
What was that? That was such a bizarre throw from Impunity. Alex went way too deep, and it wasn't on the right target. Goes for Gory. Gory able to, you know, just triple charm, triple dash, get out of the way right there, and he goads the rest of the team to just die. Unified wasn't even touched in that team fight. There was no way to play that way.
I got an answer to your quandary about PSG's engaged, Clement. They don't, because Impunity just force-fed themselves into PSG. Let's take a look at that play again. They get a good jump onto the Rift Herald, they secure it, but PSG just don't even let them grab it.
Yeah, so they focus on Gory, and I think that's the wrong target to do so. Look at Kaiwing. He gets a 3-man depth charge. Gory's completely fine. Unified gets in, and look at where Jackpot and Husky are. They're in no man's land. They're just dead. So that's not how you play triple dive. If you want to play triple dive, you got to go in all together.
Somebody think of the eye of the Rift Herald. I feel like that was kind of doomed. And Jackpot should have just immediately turned and been like, all right, I'm going to get something out of this. But yeah, the gold has just fallen off a cliff at 10 minutes. An ace. We have seen so many surprises today, so many unusual things happening at unusual times. A perfect game, 18.5 minutes. We've seen a pentakill on the Callista. You know, that's always fun to watch against PSG. And now PSG getting an ace. this early on, I feel like this week 6 has just been a lot of highlights and some low ones as well.
I don't think you're ever going to see a team start a team fight and then get aced. Because, you know, the teams to initiate, we did this study when I was in the LPL, teams that initiate typically win the team fight 80% of the time. And that's quite reasonable, because you're not really going to initiate it unless you know you're going to win. So,
well, someone didn't give Impunity the memo there. But yeah, their team fighting has been a struggle. And I think that's kind of a highlight of it, is the target selection is not necessarily that great. They do good skirmishes. I think Impunity, they just lose their heads in some of these longer ones as Husky walks into that charm, is able to tank through most of it. But yeah, this is the problem for this team, is they just lose their heads a bit in these fights.
Yeah, I feel like the start of the fight was a bit hesitant. We saw, you know, Husky walk out, gave PSG time to walk back from Gory's side, and then the flash in from Alex was way too far, too deep. And then we had Husky and Jackpot being focused one by one. So everything that could have gone wrong there definitely did. And now PSG find themselves in a dominating lead. I don't think Husky's going to be able to use heroic entrance anytime soon. Maybe Alex can find a kill here. It's going to have
for it. Ball breaker trying to close, doesn't find it. And it's another plate taken by PSG too, so that gold is just going to keep on stacking, especially for Gory in the middle. And I mean, and Gory was set behind by a really nicely timed Alex gank earlier on, but he's all the stack into this. He's not going to be at Nesty status. I still can't believe that happened as well, by the way. But he's 3 kills after having 3 deaths.
We can tell that Alex is desperately trying to get a chance for Husky to actually back in safety, unmolested here.
He gets it, but he's going to be paying for it here as PSG take another uncontested dragon. Oh boy. Oh, denying the back to set the dive up.
Yeah, I think that Impunity are very well aware that this is coming. As I just say that...
Triple dive. Not necessarily the deadliest. And Onyx will be able to push that back. Husky going to join in, and you can see Alex wasn't far behind. So they do deny that. A little bit of a half-baked dive attempt by PSG, but they do delay a back timer.
I think that's actually super beneficial for PSG. So they just burned 2 big summoners. They can still move in for the play. Not summoners, excuse me. Both ultimates are down there. So, PSG have no real reason to budge from this position. They're just going to continue to clamp down on it. You know, Impunity did dissuade PSG, but there was no risk for PSG to take, and they just get extra cooldowns. So I feel like this is just going to get worse in terms of the bottom side. And
that's fair.
Almost all hopes on top lane right now. See if Jackpot can get ahead.
Well, Jax is definitely a champion you like the longer the game goes on, but PSG with a big early swing does mean it's going to be a while before I'm feel pretty good about that. And once again, clamping down. Ooh, Husky. Ooh, the Galio's starting to get bursted just a little bit, and Gory looking to try and flex best he can. I think we're going to be in for some early towers here as Unified just pumps damage into this turret, looking for another plate before they fall.
Yeah, and PSG get to take all of this without a fight, because I honestly felt like Impunity just burned their ultimates a little bit too early before PSG were fully committed onto that one. They get the full rotations across the board, and now both of these towers are going to fall. Oh, Impunity from such a hopeful draft and interesting position, and you can see Yushin there starting to head scratch. This is looking difficult.
Well, let me ask you this, Clement. They still got late game? Your silence speaks volumes.
They still got late game, but I don't think the scenario where Impunity just charge in and kill Unified is going to slow PSG down, because the rest of the members are so fed. You've got the you got the, how much gold lead is that? The 2,000 gold lead on Gory. He's going to be fine as a secondary carry.
It's a full item difference down bot too, and Unified is sending Impunity a mortal reminder.
Oh, Impunity team fights. This is what happened.
To be fair, he's cheated a little bit because he didn't get boots, and I mean, you're Sivir, like, you don't always need boots.
True.
You got Ghost, you got Ult. It's fine. This time, PSG gonna be the ones to start up the Herald. A lot of pings flying here from Impunity. I think they want to fight this.
Well, if you're gonna go out, might as well do so with a bang.
Oh! Is Kaiwing. Speaking of going in with a bang, that's going to be the start here as they look for Yushin trying to delete the cat off the rip. They do. Hero's entrance comes a little bit late here, but will they be able to take down
starting to clean.
Onyx in the back, untouched. Maybe this is a chance. They can turn it around. Into the choke point they go. But the damage is way too real, and Gory's popping off right now. Finds another one off the back of this. The double kill. The pillar through. Gory looking to line him up, and in the charm, he gets it. The double kill for the swag play.
What a good pillar right there. Knocks back Onyx, gives Gory the easy charm mid-air, and they clean house after looking at a good start for Impunity right there. They were in a choke. We saw that Onyx was actually untouched throughout most of the fight, but they're still able to clean up. Kaiwing with the Hex Flash over the wall. Beautiful stuff coming into that angle. And then you can see it's actually pretty hard for Unify to find his way into the fight. He needs to actually flash in here. I want to see if Unify does go down. Yeah, so he does drop big shutdown gold going over to Onyx. That may be useful later on. But Bury and Gory with the K-Town connection here, able to get this beautiful pillar into the snipe down. Love that play.
Yeah, man, when you get a charm kill, that just feels good as an Ahri. So now all of a sudden, very accelerated. Already was doing pretty well, but those extra 3 kills does so much more work here as the bounty extends to 700 on Gory, and he's picked himself up a Shadow Flame too. 10 stacks on the Darksteel. Just build a Medjai's already. You know you want to.
That is all the damage you need. Frankly, Unified kind of just was shut down. 3 auto attacks in that fight. Didn't even matter.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great play. Impunity turning it around. You know, once they were able to find Unified, I think Onyx had good positioning, but he had no summoners, and at the same time, the front line just got melted through by Gory and Bury at the end. And I think like the Trundle pick was a little bit weird, but hey, you know what? It's working in these choke points.
Oh, Gory
gets jumped on. That would be huge shutdown goal, but he actually dodges away with the charged Spirit Rush. And no danger. He's all right.
We're going to take another Drake, and we are going to get those clouds, which is it's potentially going to give us a double Spirit Dash Ahri sometimes in the late game. It's going to be fun to watch.
It is soul point already. You know, we hadn't really talked as much about dragons because PSG have basically just been taking them as dessert to the dinner of Impunity, back-to-back aces in this game. 6,000 gold, or about 5,500 gold to lead. It's a pretty solid opener here for them, and I think Impunity, they're finding themselves in such a deficit. They're going to need to hold out for an incredible late-game comeback, but the window on that feels very narrow.
It's going to take a long time, and the big problem in the mid-game for them is PSG have a composition that you just can't run away from. The Ahri is going to get so many dashes. We have Sivir reset on the hunt as well, so she can continue to charge forward. So I mean, Impunity, if they find a fight, they need to be confident that they can finish it. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. So yeah, PSG are very free to just walk across the entire map. They can start fights whenever they see it. As long as they're grouped, they should be completely okay, and they can play super aggressive, as we've just seen from Kaiwing's Hex Flash.
Yeah, talk about playing tempo too. I mean, and this is a good look for PSG. We were wondering if they were going to be capable of it. So far, so good. Especially just when they finish the job. Unified, looking like he's baiting in Alex here, but there's that combo. If they get the deletion off, the exhaust is on. They chase so much, but do they have the right target? Because look at Gory doing the work in the back. Unified will finally get chased down the blast cone, turns it back and around, and PSG, they don't find a finisher onto Impunity members, and they lose 2. That is Impunity's best shot right now. Still threatening. Gory still alive means they can't go all in.
That was a good start, though. Impunity finally get that pick. That was pretty insane. Alex goes in with the Vault Breaker, then in Season Desist, follows up with the Flash there, with the final chapter running, and we can see how long range this engage actually is. Unified overplays his hand. The 1-3-1 was on for PSG, but they're not across the river, so they can't trade any towers back for it. They're forced to engage here, and to be fair, Unified actually still survives a very, very long time with the ultimate and the ghost there. Jackpot is on the board with the shutdown there as well, so big turnaround for Impunity. They cut the goal lead down to at least 5, which is a lot more than I expected, but hey, it's something.
Yeah, it's better than it was. 20 minutes in the game, so PSG are going to have to be a little bit more careful as the curve starts trending up again, but they knocked down a tower with Shelly. Have a lot of word coverage here inside the Impunity jungle as well, now that Baron is live. So chance for Impunity to try and do anything crazy like rush it down. But Impunity have gotten gold onto some priority members. You are looking for that late game Jax to be a big one. They need Onyx to find a kill because he's kind of sitting on a bargain bucket at the moment. He's just got the Immortal Shield bow and a lot of swords, but no other combos. And Unified's going to be able to pump out more damage. But good priority, good selection, good chase. And I think that is what we were hoping to see out of an Impunity squad to play the game plan, to not lose their heads in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, they executed it flawlessly. The timing was right. PSG definitely got caught off guard on that one. The problem is it's going to be hard to find those angles once more. I think PSG's game plan is fairly simple at this point. You just keep tabs on the Jax, and then you group for the Cloud Soul. That's all they need to do. I don't expect them to be pushing too hard on any of these fronts or splitting up too much. So the question really is about Impunity's setup at this point. They know the Cloud Soul's coming in 70 seconds. You know, they have not caught wind of these backs just yet, so they're going to have to slowly go in with Yushin, checking out these brushes, and then find the angle to pull this off again, but this time with Ori around the vicinity.
Ori is here. Big, deep threat on the PSG side. 4,000 gold lead. PSG's pocket looking for that Cloud Soul. Love to get a haste on. Everybody here from Impunity's on, and that Yuumi is just sitting on Alex. So wherever the Vi goes, deep into the back line, Cat's gonna follow. Charm does land onto Husky. Splits the team, that's the hook, and Alex actually trying to bait this one out, but in the Counter-Strike, do they have a priority target here? Hero's entrance coming down, but the rest of PSG going to scatter. You can see Burry trying to buy some time for the rest of his team. Who's gonna go down first? It's gonna be Husky. Burry actually walks away from this. Jackpot exhausted. They take it. The turn is here. PSG know they have the opportunity. They may have lost earlier today, but they're well on their way to winning this one. A triple kill for Unified, rushing for the Baron. Soul be damned.
Oh, that was actually, terrain-wise, pretty well played by Impunity, but the damage difference was just massive in that situation. They were trying to take down Burry. It was like a 4 versus 1 versus Burry, but Burry was able to stay alive longer than not Jackpot, but the front line of Impunity. Yeah, Husky went down a lot faster because he had Unified and Gory wailing on him. So it wasn't terribly played from Impunity. I felt like, compared to giving up the soul for nothing, it was a good attempt, and they forced PSG to rush up the ramp. PSG just too far ahead, though. They just chew through their front line anyway.
You see Impunity are going to try to steal this out from under the noses of PSG. Hanabi is actually here. I think they can get this, but the thing is, PSG, they're so far ahead, they don't actually have to worry about contesting it, and maybe they can get something off the back half as Husky does get caught here into the charm, into the freeze. They just don't give him an opportunity to go anywhere as he's blown up and Unified. Has been stacking up kill after kill after kill.
That's 4 in a row right now, and that was, I don't think that was necessary from Husky. He kind of underestimated how fast PSG could get onto the map. They chase him down there, and that's going to be a lot of extra towers without Husky there to provide some deterrence here. I guess you're going to take the bot lane now. There's still 3 members into the mid side, so they're going to get bot as well.
Yeah, not a lot you can do against here. This push is just way too strong, and the front line that Burry can bring is massive, not to mention Hanabi. So Impunity are just going to have to watch their base get turned to shambles. Still 5 seconds on the Galio. That inhibitor is going to fall, and I think another one in the mid if they're not careful. Rotation here from PSG. Just want to take everything away from Impunity. It's going to be the cease and desist. They find Burry. Do they have the damage in the final chapter? But they just don't have it enough to finish it off. And now you can see Alex going way too low. The auto attack from Gory. And he goes legendary at this one as they yoink in the Vi. The hero's entrance onto Alex to try and defend him. They will be able to get a little bit extra, but he's forced to flash away. And even as he tries to Justice Punch, dodges the lethal damage. But still, they lose Alex, and it means that it's going to be another inhibitor. PSG just going to go in and out without losing anything.
Yeah, once Impunity start the fight, they have to be able to finish that one, but unfortunately, I felt like they went in, if they wanted to do so, they went in a little bit too late, because the tower was already down. They're missing that huge chunk of damage there. Alex falls down really quickly, and they're not able to find the group up onto Unified. Typically the way this pop should work is Alex should be able to fly in, right on top of Unified. He had the Galio layered on top of it. But the way they started that fight, they actually used the Season Desist on Bury, and Bury just survived. Like, he didn't really mind.
He's a Fed Trundle. What are you going to do? I mean, there's just not a lot of good targets. You'd like to delete Unified. You'd like to delete Gory. That's going to be hard. He's also got the Zhonya's. And speaking of Gory, man, all I want is a Medjai's. You've had 10 stacks forever, my dude. Come on.
Yeah, I think Gory is kind of in safety mode right here after they already lost the first game to JT, so he's not going to do anything risky.
You got basically a full build. If you're going to keep that Dark Seal, at least do some extra work for you.
That's true.
26 minutes. I don't think it's going to matter. They're going to end it right here unless Impunity have a stop. Last inhibitor goes down. PSG just wait for the super minion waves to start crashing in. Pillars down on top of those Nexus turrets. Impunity going to try to refresh themselves at the fountain. This will be the final stand. 26 is the game clock right now, and that is the final effort. Jackpot goes in for that Counter-Strike. Alex going to be isolated from the team as they delete him off the map. No follow-through damage. Gory opening up the floodgates as Hanabi just lining this up for his mid laner. And they just go for the big kill play into the fountain dive, and even Gory with the swag play. Husky gonna be the last man standing, not for long. The quadra kill coming out, and that is a big old bounce back for PSG Talon as they take the win over Impunity.
22-7, a really clean game coming in from PSG. Though I have to say, I felt like this game just snowballed out of control at that 8-minute ace. There wasn't a whole lot Impunity could do afterwards. It was a fight of their choosing, but a poorly picked one. They just went in too deep. It was one by one. They didn't get the triple stack, and I don't think Unified was threatened at all in this composition. So the draft was fine for Impunity. They had a clear identity. The early game was okay, you know, they held on to most of the things, but the two big plays that really sunk them were the ace, and then when they had to deal with the tower dive, they just blew everything early and lost 2 towers for nothing.
Yeah, I think PSG knew exactly what they needed to do going into this. They needed to play temp. Boy, did they. Just out-executing and just basically picking Impunity apart in a lot of these fights. I think you saw the outclassing. This is kind of where the divide is between like our top 5, top 6, and everybody else. Impunity, they have been making some strides this split, but one thing that still plagues them is just coordinating around these fights. And you're right, it snowballed out of control because they got aced at 8 minutes, and you don't often see that type of thing happening. It was some good laning plays. I really want to commend the early Vault Breaker play to set up the kill onto Gory, but immediately it got turned around once the team fight happened. And I think Impunity just has to work on tightening up a lot of the ways that they play around the map in 5v5 scenarios. Maybe skirmishes, maybe splits going to be a better look for them, but they're going to have to find some answers heading into playoffs.
I think the problem for them is they need one good initiator out of Yushin, Husky, and Alex. So far,
they need a shot caller too.
They're kind of the same thing. I'm being honest here, but a good initiator is typically a good shot caller as well. I feel like the problem here is like Yushin, they've kind of made him a Yumi bot. He's been playing a lot of this champion. Sure, it's good in the meta and requires a lot less coordination if you're speaking 2 languages, so I kind of get it, but that takes the support off of the table. Alex, career-wise, has been known for being a duelist. He goes into your enemy jungle, he just fights the enemy, and a lot of times he does win. He has really good mechanics. He used to play with Rengar a lot of times, great Lee Sin. But he hasn't been a career initiator at all. And you can kind of tell that. I think his Vi initiations have been, there's one good one throughout that entire game. The rest of them were a little bit spotty. Husky is the same thing as well. Husky came up with Hino, where he usually just was the follow-up engage rather than the main one going in. So I still think that has been the same exact problem plaguing them for the entirety of the second half of the split. It's just that we don't have someone that can lead Impunity. They have the pieces, they have good highlight moments, but usually their first step is a tragic one.
Yeah, I mean, if you are missing something core like that as an initiator, especially in a meta where you really need to be able to pull that off, it can be tough. And a missing piece does mean the whole Jenga tower falls down. So PSG, they bounce back. I think this is a good look for this team that they showed they can play a little bit more in the early game and into the mid, try to close things out. Really good skirmishes, great 5v5s. I think Gory was very right to opt into the Ahri and not get banned away. I think there's still some There's still some question marks about the extended champion pool there, but if they can dig into what they find in the first couple of rotations, there's just such a power gap when he's on these champions that have pop-off potential. I think we've seen a couple times today that a Fed Ahri is still very much a burst mage. There is a lot to like from PSG's second game. They need to tighten things up, especially against teams like J-Team, if they want to try and recapture that top seed, but they are still very much in the running by picking up their 13th win.
After watching today's games, I am even more certain than ever that Gory is actually just going to win the game. We thought that maybe, maybe we were betting, hoping that maybe Gory was only good on Azir and Sylas, and we banned them. Second tier. I think he's still a bit weaker than compared to those two champions, but it's not because of Pilot. Well, let's just make that obviously clear here.
Mm-hmm.
His Galio and his Ahri were still pop-off performances. He was still the best player on the team. He still made plenty of plays. And that is damn scary. That is, that really gives you pause thinking about, oh, let's just make a Sylas and Azir. Like, that strategy, I think, works not because Gory is weaker necessarily on those champions, but because Bury doesn't usually play the tempo side of the follow-up picks. You saw this time around, you know, Lisa getting banned, Zinzel getting banned here. If you can take away that equation, then usually these tempo picks are much more reliant on mid-jungle.
Absolutely. I think that is the difference maker is not so much what Gory's going to do, but what Bury isn't going to do. And Bury did have some pretty good plays, not so much in like gank counter gank, but in the fact that in these team fights, he showed up. Those pillars were crucial. Dives also worked out well because of it. And you can see when the game got out of hand, it was very early on as the gold started to swing pretty quickly. And a couple of fights later was all it took. Gory with a pop-off play. I think you're absolutely right. This man is winning the MVP, barring some absolutely stunning performances from a number of other star players here in our league. But
it's gonna have to be crazy because we only have 2 games left.
it would. The time is running out for sure. So we'll see how it goes. And speaking of MVPs, I think we're about to see the one from this game. And isn't any surprise it is going to be Gory. 95.5% kill participation. He was involved in everything. What is the one kill he wasn't involved in? I think it was like something down bot.
Probably the tower dive. Maybe like he missed one target with the Foxfire.
You can't get them all. Like when you hit all the steps perfectly in like DDR and you get like S and not S plus, and you're just like, wait, come on. Oh well.
So, Gory is clearing himself at the Path of Worlds. Congratulations on the PSG strategy. You guys have cracked the PCS. The answer is very simple. Just throw all your money at the best mid laner you can get. If you have the best mid laner in the PCS, you're most likely gonna win the league. So, kudos to you guys. You cracked the code.
They did, and so far it's working out well for them. Obviously, they still have a ways to go before they can reclaim the crown yet again, and it does feel like every split they get more and more challenges. And speaking of, we've got one more incredible challenge coming up right after this. I'm very excited to talk about J-Team returning to the Rift and facing off against their universe multi-part in CFO. We'll be right back with that game.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top